Bugünkü webinarımıza hepiniz hoş geldiniz değerli katılımcılar. Webinarımızın başlığı Toplumsal Cinsiyete Dayalı Ayrımcılık ve Şiddete Son Vermede Sivil Toplum Kuruluşlarının Rolü ve konuşmacımız Arnavutluk'tan Mirela Arqimandriti. Bildiğiniz gibi Cinsiyet Eşitliği İzleme Derneği kuruluşundan bu yana cinsiyet eşitliğinin sağlanması için göstergelere dayalı hak temelli izleme faaliyetleri yürütüyor ve bu faaliyetleri diğer kadın örgütleri, LGBTİ artı örgütleri ve hak temelli örgütlerle ortak çalışmalar yaparak yürütüyor. Ve belediyelerin yerel eşitlik eylem planlarının ne ölçüde hayata geçirildiği için de aktif bir izleme çalışmasının içinde bulunuyor. Bizim çalışma alanlarımız içinde bugün Mirela'nın üzerinde konuşacağı iki alan, toplumsal cinsiyet temelli şiddet ve özellikle kadına yönelik şiddet ve istihdamda yaşanan toplumsal cinsiyet ayrımcılığı kuşkusuz başka ülkelerde de önemli sorun alanları olarak karşımıza çıkıyor ve biz başka ülkelerin deneyimlerinden de öğrenmekte büyük yarar görüyoruz. Çevremizdeki ülkeler ilgimizi çekiyor. Arnavutluk söz konusu olduğu vakit aslında bizimle uzun tarihi bağları olan bir ülke Arnavutluk. Biraz araştırınca görüyoruz ki 500 yıl boyunca Osmanlı egemenliğinde kalmış. Sonrasında 20. yüzyılın başında bağımsızlığını kazanmış. Ardından 1940'lı yıllarda Enver Hoca'nın iş başına gelmesiyle birlikte bir sosyalist yönetim tarzını benimsemiş. Benim gençlik yıllarımda Enver Hoca'dan etkilenen kimi sol gruplar olduğunu da hatırlıyorum. Ama yine hatırladığım bir diğer husus, İsmail Kadere'nin ünlü Arnavut yazar, çok sayıda ödülü olan, Türkçe'ye çevrilen kitaplarıyla sevilen bir yazar olduğu. 1990'lı yıllar Arnavutluk'ta demokrasiye ve çok partili hayata geçiş dönemi, siyasi çalkantı ve çatışmaların yaşandığı bir dönem. Sonrasında 2014 yılında Arnavutluğun Avrupa Birliği'ne aday ülke statüsü kabul ediliyor ve politikalarda toplumsal cinsiyet eşitliğinin hedeflenmesi için ciddi çalışmalar başlatılıyor. Bunun bir göstergesi de halen kabinedeki bakanların yarısının kadın olması. Mirela Arqimandriti, kadınlara yönelik şiddetin son bulması ve çalışma yaşamında toplumsal cinsiyet eşitliğini sağlamak için yürüttükleri izleme ve savunuculuk çalışmaları hakkında bugün bizleri bilgilendirecek. Kendisine davetimizi kabul ettiği ve bugün konuşacağı için, bize bilgi vereceği için çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Birazcık kendisini tanıtmak istiyorum. Mirela, Arnavutluk'taki Kalkınma için Toplumsal Cinsiyet İttifakı Merkezi'nin direktörü ve 20 yıldan fazladır Arnavut toplumunda kadın hakları, toplumsal cinsiyete dayalı şiddet ve şiddetle mücadele ve toplumsal cinsiyet eşitliğinin geliştirilmesi alanlarında çalışıyor. Kendisi hem araştırmacı hem toplumsal cinsiyet analisti olarak şiddetle mücadele, kadın işçilerin hakları, toplumsal cinsiyete duyarlı bütçeleme, toplumsal cinsiyetin ana akımlaştırılması ve analizine yönelik hem çok sayıda etkinlik düzenlemiş hem çok sayıda projeyi hayata geçirmiş ve 2015 yılında da Arnavutluk'taki ilk feminist kütüphaneyi kurmuş. Son yıllarda sektörel bazda farklı toplumsal cinsiyet analizleri geliştirme ve araştırma, bilinçlendirme, kapasite geliştirme faaliyetleri, ağ oluşturma, lobicilik ve savunuculuk yoluyla iş gücü piyasasında kadın haklarını korumuş ve desteklemiş. Aynı zamanda Arnavutluk'ta toplumsal cinsiyet eşitliği yasal çerçevesinin uygulanması ve toplumsal cinsiyet eşitliği mekanizmasının işleyişinin izlenmesi için farklı araştırma çalışmalarında istatistiksel temelli yaklaşımlar uygulamış. Bu anlamda CEİD'in de yürüttüğü göstergelere dayalı izleme faaliyetleriyle büyük benzerlikler taşıyor yaptıkları çalışmalar. Kendisi halen doktora eğitimine aile ve topluluk çalışmaları alanında devam ediyor. Toplumsal cinsiyet ve yoksulluk ve istihdam konusunda yüksek lisans tezi yazmış. Aynı zamanda işletmecilik alanında da bir yüksek lisans derecesine sahip. Kendisine sözü veriyorum. Buyurun Mirela.
Thank you very much, dear Professor Gülay. It is a very, very, let's say, respectful from your side that you invited me to keep this speech in front of other women and men that are part of this panel, and talk about important aspects that are related to the women empowerment and to strengthen our relationship as a network. Because here in Albania, I want to start it like that before starting the proper presentation. Here in Albania and in the Western Balkans, in fact, we have raised some different networks and collaborations with other organizations because we think that collaborating and having a network and a group of women, a group of organizations, it would be good for our cause to empower women and to make them voice to be heard and be part of the society, as she is part in her families, and she has to take this power. You mentioned that half of the Albanian women ministers, half of the ministers are women in Albania, and it's true. But this also we have like 50 women in parliament out of 140 places in parliament. And this is something that we have achieved through different activities, lobbying and advocacy activities we have organized in different levels in Albania. However, we are a little bit afraid that things that are not written in the law and in the legislation, this remain unused, let's say, and not sustainable. So the fact that we have 50% women in the government is not written anywhere. It's just the goodwill of the Prime Minister to work with women and to empower them, to see them as ministers. But this is not sustainable, in our opinion, because it's not written anywhere. But what is written is, for example, that half of women in the councils, city councils of the municipalities, I don't know how is your administrative territorial separation, but we have municipalities. Half of women in the city councils half of participants are women. I'm sorry for any lapses that I might have, because today has not started as a good day for me. I had a health problem, but now I'm fine and I'm continuing with my presentation. Thank you very much.
Bu arada bir şey belirteyim. İngilizce Türkçe çeviri dinlemek isteyenler aşağıdaki tercüme butonundan Türkçeyi seçebilirler. Yes, okay. Please, go on.
In fact, I would like to present, but since this will be with two parts, I would also like to maybe interact with the participants in a certain moment, or I have to present from the beginning till to the end, and then we will give the chance the participants to speak. How do you think?
Şöyle olabileceğini düşünüyorum. Sevgili katılımcılar, iki aşamadan oluştuğu için Mirela'nın sunumu, ilk başta şiddete yönelik mücadele konusu, ikinci aşamada da çalışma hayatı. İsterseniz siz sorularınızı yazılı olarak şiddet konusuna ilişkin iletirseniz, onları cevapladıktan sonra çalışma hayatına ilişkin kısma geçebilir. Toplamda 1,5 saat süremiz var. Böylece yarım saati şeye ayırmıştık, soru cevap kısmına. Bunun yaklaşık yarısını, 15 dakikasını ilk bölümünde, diğer 15 dakikasını da ikinci bölümünden sonra kullanabiliriz.
Okay, thank you. Dear participants, Professor Gülay make an introduction on me, but I would like to talk you about a little bit about my organization. I came from the Gender Alliance for Development Center, an Albanian non-profit organization that is working in Albania since '95. In the beginning, we have been a group of organizations, like 5 organizations, because we came after the changes of the systems, from dictatorship to the democracy, and we were very small group of organizations. But now there are like maybe 500 women's organizations in Albania, but only like 30-40 of them are active. I hope that also in your country you have also a lot of organizations that are working for women's rights. And we are trying since '95 not only to push forward the women's right and to protect and advance gender equality in Albanian society, but also to raise the capacities of the other women CSOs, mostly the women that are in grassroots level, in order to empower them to protect the women that are in their own, let's say, areas. Our mission is to promote real and effective equality between Albanian women and men in all spheres of public and private life across Albania. And we are committed to a vision that Albanian women and men having equal rights and equal opportunities, as well as full enjoyment of their personal integrity and choice. The aim of this presentation is the aim of this presentation is to present concrete examples of women CSOs, and in this case, Gender Alliance, but not only us, because we work always in collaboration. We have maybe one project or two that we work alone. We always work in collaboration with other CSOs, and the examples will be from the working that we do with CSOs in Albania to combat gender-based violence. And the other one is an example of working in the Western Balkan with the other CSOs in the Western Balkan countries to combat gender-based discrimination in labor. So the aims of this presentation is to present these concrete examples, to inform about the important role of CSOs in monitoring and keeping accountable public institutions, because these are the most important actors in the chain of the implementation of different legal and policy framework, and make available functional mechanisms that are presented in the law and should be adopted then in the practice. To discuss together other positive examples in your country, and to recommend to different institutions ways of collaboration and support, helping survivors of gender-based violence and discrimination being rehabilitated and reintegrated in socio-economic life in our societies. This part, rehabilitation and reintegration, is really a very weak part. We will talk about actions ending violence against women and girls, general overview of the legal and policy framework, institutional response, challenges, findings, and recommendations. And for the second part, I will inform you about the regional project success, about the legislation and policy framework on gender-based discrimination, and lobbying and advocacy actions. The overall aim of the actions that I'm presenting to you was to create a sustainable legislative and political environment for the elimination of violence against women and all forms of discrimination in accordance with national and international standards, while the expected result in the long run is to reduce the phenomenon of violence and all other forms of discrimination against women and girls. We always say in our reports, when we report to CEDAW, when we report to GREVIO, that we have a very good legal framework, but poor implementation. And this is a fact, unfortunately, that comes due to many reasons. The projects ending violence against women and girls was a project supported by UN Women, and was the provision of technical expertise to the government, but also to the CSOs for the development, budgeting, implementation, and monitoring of measures to address violence against women. We had, when we started the project in 2018, until 2021. We were at the end of one strategy for gender equality, and I hope you have a good strategy for gender equality and an action plan also in Turkey. And at the beginning of the other one, so our work that we did and with other CSOs was very important to bring forward the problems in implementation of this strategy. And what we did is that we just went to the strategy, we went to the strategic objective against violence against women, and we took all the outputs and other indicators within the strategy, and we just made a checklist and controlled this in some municipalities of Albania. And the output of this project were that diverse women CSOs are empowered and effectively hold relevant local level institutions accountable. And also the new national strategy on gender equality reflects international norms and standards and the lessons learned from the monitoring of the previous strategy. I want to say that monitoring a strategy or the implementation of a law should become one of the main work of CSOs, because CSOs work, women CSOs work during the time from the establishment of the group of CSOs, let's say in Albania, 95, 96. I don't know where is your, I mean, the year of this kind of changes. But since then, we now, due to many activities that we have done, to the support, of course, and political will, because this is very important, we have achieved some important aspects. Albania has ratified international conventions. Albania also has a very good legal and policy framework, but now it's time for the implementation. So that's why we need to monitor what is written in the paper and create mechanisms how to monitor and make visible the results in order for them to start, let's say, improving and also supporting the things that they have written, and they have also. I mean, when I say they, it means the government and the legislator, the parliament, they have been adopted. So keeping them accountable is very important aspect of our work. Instead, except of the fact that we support women to be empowered themselves. So. We used a mix of awareness raising and advocacy and lobbying methodologies. We strengthened the capacities of CSOs representatives for training, on-job training, workshops, every month meeting to report and share experience, activities in the local level, national activities. We also strengthened the capacities of the coordinators against domestic violence and gender equality employees. These people, these persons are, with the support of CSOs, of course, and the project that we have implemented, are now in every municipality of Albania. We have 61 municipalities, and we have now 61 coordinators against domestic violence and gender equality employees. This is very important because these persons are like the persons who have information for every case that has been reported in the police station, and also they have a coordination role to the other actors that are related to this work that they are doing. So one of important aspects of our work was to monitor what they were doing in their daily life with the cases that reported women survivors that reported domestic violence or gender-based violence. So we did training need assessment for them. We tailor-made training modules. We did on-job training with them, but also some trainings in big halls, organize activities and follow the cases of women survivors to empower and rehabilitate. We also built a monitoring system which were the same for every person involved or every NGO involved in this project. And there were like 12 municipalities we implemented this and followed step by step the strategy, aims, objectives, and what is the government commitment in written format. Monitor the activities organized monthly, annually during 16 days against domestic violence or other important dates. We have also followed monthly the work of experts who monitor the municipality. So inside our office, we monitor the people who have been involved and control their work through reports, photos that they were bringing, and also other materials, supportive materials that they were bringing in order to see how the dynamics of the work of the officials within the institutions and for women survivors has been like continued. So we created a regulation that to report regularly to the legislators, to the parliament, every year in 4 years. We requested once or twice hearing sessions, but also we requested hearing sessions in local level, in the municipality level. I mentioned before that we have 50% women that are part of the municipality city council. And these women are very supportive when you go and inform them about the issues that we found and the problems we found in coordination of the people within the municipality. We also prepared a lot of public newsletters. We prepared contribution to EU progress report, prepared written contribution for CEDAW and Grevio, and organized these hearing sessions in the parliament. In addition, we have done a lot of social media activities, prepared leaflets and infographics and distributed through social media, and also prepared a lot of articles by engaging media, by engaging journalists in order to organize, in order for them to start writing the proper, because we have this as a problem when woman is being killed or is happening something very worse, beaten or something like that. The journalists are writing in a very rude mood, and also they want to sell the news, so they bring forward very important aspects of her life, unfortunately. And that's why we trained the journalists, and we told them how to write the articles when it's come to report a case of women women in such situations. This is an example from monitoring. Maybe you will not understand because we have little time to explain everything regarding a 4-year project, but the important is that with this in Albania, that understand the people who understand the problem, with this kind of infographics, you show them the reality. For example, the yellow here, Durrës, means a municipality of Durrës, and this is municipality of Tirana, which is the capital of Albania. And the yellow is the year 2017. And this is 2018, this is 2019. We started to monitor in 2017. We increased our monitoring in 2018. And then in 2019, we were, like everybody knows that we were monitoring the legislation regarding the implementation of the legislation regarding reduction of gender-based violence. And this strategic goal number 3, we saw the activities, because in this strategic goal, they said that we will increase the activities. But you see that around 20 activities were organized in this municipality, here like 18 and then 40. So when you push the government and the institutions to do activities, they are better organized the third year, and so they continued like that even in 2020, 2021. And of course, 2020 was the COVID-19 year, and not so many activities has been organized in open space. But now that the life has started to become, I mean, the same as in 2019, of course, we will be there to monitor their actions regarding activities for awareness raising of the population regarding violence against women. This is this was a part of this is objective number 3. For example, objective number 3.3 has the punishment of perpetrators of violations and provision of rehabilitation possibilities for them. In Tirana, there are a lot of activities at that time, were a lot of activities organized for this group of people, the perpetrators, but nothing in Elbasan, a little bit in Elbasan, nothing in Korça, very small activities in Dora, in Shkodra, and 0 in Durrës, for example. This, we raise this as a big issue because it is written in the legislation that the government should take care for the perpetrators by treating them and making them able to enter to the society without their violence, and sometimes these perpetrators are even part of the they have been in jail for because the violence that they have been with their women or with their, let's say, sorry, I have a little bit ache. I'm sorry. So the perpetrators, for the violation that they have done, they have been also in jail. Like if they will not kill the women, they receive like 2 to 3 years in jail. And during this time, they are, the government should work, I mean, the officers that are in this position should work with them in order to treat them and to make them become better people when they go out. But this is not happening, unfortunately. A little bit, as I said, in Tirana, and very, very few in other municipalities that we monitored. And in other municipalities that we have not monitored, like 61, nothing has happened. So this is very important, and it is not something that the government is proud of for working with this type of people. This kind of I'm taking this 2017-2018, this kind of infographics informed the population not only in this municipality of Durrës or Elbasan, but informed everyone regarding the cases of domestic violence reported to the police directorate. These are 400 women in 2017 reported, and in 2018, 474 reported. Only 353 requested for new protection order, because we have the protection order also, and also in 2018 a little bit more. However, in this city, only 20 awareness raising activities are organized in 2017, which is very little compared to the number of women that has been reporting the violence. 0 meeting held by the steering committee. These are the most important persons in the municipality, like the mayor, the head of the prosecutor office, the head of the judge. I mean, the head of the the head of the police station that it is working in this in a certain municipality, and these people has met a 0 time. But next year, since we were monitoring, and they, I mean, we explained to them that they should meet and they also should take good decisions. Only 2 meetings were held by this steering committee. Cases of domestic violence handled by the referral mechanisms are very few, and cases of domestic violence held by referral mechanisms in 2018 next year was like 12. So it's very important. The other municipality is better than this one. If you see the cases that they treat without monitoring are 78, and with monitoring are 103. So it's very important the way how these people behave in order to really reduce the violence against women. We found a lot of things in 2021. This project has been closed, but these aspects are really relevant even today. So it's poor awareness raising activity from municipalities or Ministry of Health and Social Protection. The awareness raising is covered mainly by CSOs organizations supported by the donors. The referral mechanism is a weak body in the fight against domestic violence, and the mechanisms must gather regularly about 8 to 10 representatives from public institutions. In fact, in this meeting participate half of them. And the institutions that are missing mostly are courts, bailiff, prosecutors, and I hope in your country you have better experience. Objective, the program on the perpetrator is functioning only through counseling line for men and boys in Tirana and Shkodra, which are 2 municipalities out of 61. So we urge the government to strengthen the referral mechanisms and to improve the gender machinery in our country in order to response to the response be immediate and women have all the supports. Municipalities generally do not have a proper and let's say full budget for all their needs within the municipality in order to do public awareness activities or to treat the domestic and gender-based violence cases. And in almost all municipalities, this local coordinator that is dealing with gender-based violence is overwhelmed with other tasks that have nothing to do with domestic violence because they are related to other aspects within the municipality. So we in Albania have a national system which is called REVAL. This system, in this system, each person, employee who is working with domestic violence cases should enter and put the data of the women they have been treated. But this is has shown a lot of problems and still is not a good system to be developed. We had a lot of problems with the district courts, with bailiff offices, which are not very functional, and also many cases has not been properly treated by them. We have a problem with forensic medicine, and these people are not properly, let's say, examine and bring information to the cases of domestic violence. I have here a lot of recommendations, and with these recommendations, I close the first part of this. Of course, these are recommended actions that the lead institutions in Albania against gender-based violence should take to empower employees, to establish a training unit to monitor and request information and control their work, to organize the annual meeting at central level, to design action plan for improving capacities of assigned employees, to create a database of not only people who have received training as an employee, but also of donors and NGOs that are working and are supporting them. And many other aspects, but also we had a lot of recommendations for women CSOs. I'm taking here a few. To monitor the legal framework. As I mentioned, the monitoring of the legal framework is now imperative for all the women organizations, because we have achieved what we have achieved in terms of written laws. They need now to be implemented, and through the implementation, the problems and the gaps in implementations are coming out. So you have time also to improve, but without monitoring the legal framework, how it is working, it's very difficult to understand the dynamics and what is missing in the system, etc. This was more or less about our project related to against gender-based violence in Albania. If you have any question, please.
Mirela, yaptığınız sunum için size çok teşekkür ediyorum. Çünkü gerçekten farklı bir kurumsal yapılanma olduğunu görüyoruz Arnavutluk'ta ve burada toplumsal cinsiyet temelli şiddetle mücadele için belediyelerin büyük rol üstlendiğini ortaya koydu sizin sunumunuz. Ve çalışmalarınız da bir bağımsız kadın örgütü olarak bu belediyelerin kanunda öngörülen yükümlülüklerini ne ölçüde yerine getirdiklerine dair bir izleme faaliyetinin yürütülmesi. Kuşkusuz Türkiye'de merkezi yönetim de bu konuda büyük sorumluluklar taşıyor. Belediyelerin sorumluluğunun biraz daha aslında ikinci planda olduğunu söylemek mümkün de. Benim sorum şu, Türkiye'de biz özellikle kadına yönelik şiddet konusunda merkezi devlet kurumlarının veri toplaması ve bunu yayınlamasına dair müthiş bir eksiklik hissediyoruz. Yani sorunun ne kadar büyük boyutlu olduğunu ortaya koyacak olan veriler bizlerle paylaşılmıyor. Acaba Arnavutluk'ta bu anlamda kadına yönelik şiddet konusunda veri toplayan istatistik kurumunun diyelim ki bir alt birimi var mı, yoksa bu tümüyle belediyeler üzerinden toplanan bilginin bir araya getirilmesiyle mi oluşuyor? Durum nedir?
Yes, the problem of statistics is also a problem in Albania, but in Albania, I have also heard in some, it's not confirmed, in some Western Balkan countries, the statistics are not available. In Albania, we have the Institute of Statistics of Albania. And here it is the Women and Men in Albania 2021. It's a PDF material with a lot of information. This is in English, with a lot of information regarding women and men in Albania. And this is in Albanian and in English also. And this is the basis of the women NGOs when we do a kind of analysis, or we would like to raise an issue. We go to the different sectors here and we find data. However, we are missing micro data in Albania. The data here are very well, let's say, structured, and this publication is year by year. From the births to deaths to marriages to social insurance, different dynamics of the population in Albania. There is a special sector for gender pay gap. There is a special sector for gender-based violence also, and all the numbers of women that have been reported, for example, in a year. There is a coordination of institutions that gather, that Institute of Statistics gather information and data from them and bring everything to this publication. We have also the adolescent birth, for example, and the number of them. So if you want to fight against uncontrolled abortion, since I'm here, I want to take also the issue, since we are talking about gender-based violence, we have a problem with some institutions. We say that the municipality and the police are working very well, but the health system, the primary healthcare doctors, or the gynecologists that are working in private clinics, they don't report the violence against women. Even public or private institutions in health sector, they don't report violence against women. In the private sector, they are interested not to report the abortion that it came with force through the perpetrator. They bring the girl or the women there, and they just pay, and the abortion is happen. Or for example, in the public ones also, through the bribery, no one understands for what the women went there. So we want to strengthen these components also. But regarding the data, we have this publication every year, and we can do a lot of compared analysis. You don't have such publication? We also have the gender index in Albania, which came out for the first time in January 2020, and now we are waiting for the second edition.
Türkiye'de toplumsal cinsiyet istatistikleri konusunda Türkiye İstatistik Kurumu'nun düzenli yayınları var, ama kadına yönelik şiddet olduğu vakit bu konudaki bilgiler son derece yetersiz. Yani temel eleştiri noktamız burada bizim kamu kurumlarına. Ve esas olarak bilgiyi kadın örgütleri toplamaya çalışıyorlar. Yaşanan şiddet vakaları, şiddete maruz kalan kadın sayıları ve bunlara ilişkin dava süreçleri konusunda. Mirela'ya evet, gördüğüm kadarıyla başka soru var mı diye bakıyorum. Şöyle bir soru gelmiş, onu okuyorum. Veriler politika ve hizmet üretme sürecinde nasıl kullanılıyor? Bu konuda örnekler var mı? Şu veriyi gördükten sonra yeni bir hizmet tanımlandı gibi bir örneğiniz var mı? Teşekkür ederim.
Yes, the data, as I mentioned, are used by women CSOs mostly, very less by academia. In fact, academia in Albania is not much involved in bringing changes into society. They can do that, but they don't. But women NGOs are using this data to show to the government that with your data, look, this is the problem. So how we can change this? This is for employment, in order to create different active labor market policies, for example, for women, or the data brings information where the women are mostly, let's say, concentrated in the labor market, and what the government should do in order to make them work and be empowered in other sectors like ICT, for example, or other sectors that are important now for finding a good job. So, of course, that the data are used. The data are used also from the government, but mostly to bring forward important aspects are used by the CSOs. And all our reports, after this presentation, I will send you the report on gender-based discrimination in labor for you to read the Albanian one and also the regional one, or I will give you all the links where the reports for each country in the Western Balkans, like Albania, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Kosovo, Serbia, Montenegro, and North Macedonia are, in order for you to see, because this is a very good example that you can also replicate in your work as an NGO. But without such such publication, which is also pushed by the women NGO, but not only by the donors, mainly by UN Women. In 2006, I started this publication. So if someone wants to prepare something, can go deep to this data and bring information forward regarding these different aspects that are related to men and women.
Mirela, bu linkleri paylaşmandan çok büyük memnuniyet duyarız. Bu arada gelen bazı sorular var. Ben iki tanesini birleştirerek soracağım size. Birincisi, şiddet faillerine yönelik neler yapılıyor diye sorulmuş. Anladığım kadarıyla şiddet failleri yaptıkları suça uygun bir ceza alıyorlar mı? Herhalde onu kastediyor soruyu soran. Diğeri de Arnavutluk'ta kadın sığınaklarının sayısı yeterli mi diye sormuş.
Well, yes. Regarding the perpetrator, as I mentioned, this was one of our aim at the project, to see what the government is doing with the perpetrator, because we had a very, very severe case of a woman killed. She was a judge, and she was a brave judge, in fact, and she was divorced by this man who attempted to kill her once, and he was jailed for 3 years and came out from the jail in 1 year and a half. And during being in the jail, he was filled with the aim to kill her when he will go out. They had 2 children together, so nobody. That's why we started to work with perpetrators, because nobody was taking care, even when they are in jail. It was written in the law, and nobody took care for him to make him understand the fact that, or to make him psychologically, to work with him and to make him to low down his anger, let's say, or whatever he has. He was a crazy man. Now he is in jail for 35 years a year. But when he go out, he stayed only 1 week, and he went and killed her in her car when she went out from the work that she is doing as a judge. She was fantastic and was a very brave woman, but the society couldn't save her. And we also have like 10 to 12 women that are killed every year that we cannot save. Some of them are also have reported the violence and are part of the system, let's say, because when you report the violence, you become part of the system. They can help you to survive, but the system failed in this case. I mean, even us NGOs, it's not only the system, but also some cases has been not saved because these perpetrators have not been treated. So I can say that in Albania there are some programs, but it is almost zero the way working with these perpetrators. The other question was about
kadın sığınakları hakkındaydı. Yeterli sayıda sığınak var mı?
Yes. We have one shelter. We have one national shelter in Albania that has like 35 beds, posts for women. This is a national one, and it is supported by the government. It is built up by UNDP and supported by the government. And we have like 5 to 6 shelters. I say 5 to 6 because 2 of them are emergency shelters, and they are active only when they have funds. This is another unfortunate. These 5 shelters are private. One is treating women trafficked, and also women that are survivors of domestic violence. Girls that are raped, for example, And these shelters, the private ones that are managed by NGOs, are working very well. However, we have a very low number of beds, 153 beds overall in Albania, for these women to be treated and to be sheltered. These women stay like 6 months to 1 year to the shelter, and during this period they receive a lot of training, information. Some started the studies in the universities, because thanks God we have, from at least from municipality of Tirana, a lot of support in terms of money, I mean, to some victims of domestic violence that can start the university with the payment of the government. In the shelter, they have been empowered to restart the life by also presenting them in some job places. So it's let's say an attempt of the society to help this, but still we have a lot of problems in helping everyone. In Albania, I wanted to go to this part here. We have like 3,400 women that report violence every year. It's here. This is domestic violence, you see here. Domestic violence, but just a moment to find the right one. Anyway, the number is 3,400 every year. Women that report violence against the gender-based violence. I will send you information regarding this, so you can see the right statistics.
Mirela, aslında gösterdiğiniz istatistikler Arnavutluk'ta düzenli her yıl bilgi toplandığını ve yayınlandığını gösteriyor. Sorulardan biri de buna ilişkindi ama cevaplanmış oldu. Ben bu konuda son bir soruyu size yönelteceğim. Ondan sonra da çalışma yaşamı ve ayrımcılık konusuna geçmenizi rica edeceğim. Son soru da bu siber dijital suçların kadınlara yönelik olarak giderek artması, özellikle genç nesilde bu tarz kadına yönelik şiddette artış olması nedeniyle buna dair bir çalışmanız var mı?
This is also a very important aspect, and we had let's say treated with our other organizations, not us, women that have been victims of cyber violence. In Albania, we have just started this kind of discussion. It's not any concrete example of project that has started in Albania in this regard. However, since this is let's say Grevio and Istanbul Convention, let's say new aspect that has been developed recently, we of course will enter in this type of work, and in order to maybe this year, during the 16 days against domestic violence, we are planning an awareness raising campaign on cyber violence, which will be distributed through social media. We as Gender Alliance are well known and have a network of social media. Let's say we use social media very much, including Instagram and other let's say media that the youth is using, and we want to make an awareness raising campaign on the cyber violence, which is really an issue.
Teşekkür ediyorum açıklamanız için ve sizden ikinci bölüme geçmenizi rica ediyorum.
Yes. And this is about gender-based discrimination in labor. Albania case. Before starting this, I told you that I will speak about the project that we did in the region with, we were 6 organizations, 1 from each country, and I will give you the name of these organizations also, but within the publication that I will share with you and you can share with the participants, you can also find their contact addresses, because maybe different organizations want to collaborate with them. We as Gender Alliance for 7 years have started to work with the women labor rights. We have started with the women workers in textile and shoes companies. I'm sure that also in Turkey, you have a lot of problems with the rights of women in textile and shoes companies, because we become also part of some international movements like Clean Clothes campaign, and we heard about Turkey problem in this sector. It are the same problems that in Albania the women are facing, and with the support of the very important donor, which is Olof Palme's Center through Sweden, through the support of SIDA, is a Swedish organization that receives funds from SIDA. They support us, and we work to raise the awareness of these women, which are really from the poorest strata of Albanian society, to help them to understand their rights, and also to fight in different areas with the legislators, with the government, etc., to raise the salary and to make their life easy by implementing again the law. Again, the law implementation, the labor code implementation is very important when it's come to the decent work for not only for women but also for men in Albania. And this action that I'm presenting now found us in the middle of this work, and we decided together with other women NGOs to work for gender equality and equal opportunities, equal treatment, and equal pay for equal work, as these are fundamental values of the European Union. And each Western Balkan countries has signed the stabilization and association agreements. Now Albania and North Macedonia has been even opened the negotiations with the European Union. So being signed these stabilization association agreements, each country is committed to approximate the domestic legislation with the EU acquis, which is not completely done in Albania, but even in other countries. So we were based our action on this, and the EU accession process provides a unique opportunity for the European Union to encourage and support women, Western Balkans governments in taking steps to ensure and increase access for diverse women to decent work. And this is also part of the EU Gender Action Plan 3. Since statistics are very important, we, as I mentioned to you, for example, for Albania, all the statistics that are here has been taken from the book that I have presented to you, Men and Women in Statistics in Albania. So we saw that in the Western, this is the gender gap in the Western Balkan countries, and this is EU 27 countries gender gap. Of course, in our countries, the gender gap is really very high when it's come to the women participation in the labor market, you see here. And this is the year 2020. In Kosovo, the women participation is very low, for example, in the labor market. But it's not only the problem of participation, but there is a problem of decent work and working conditions that are related to working conditions, to health and safety into the workplace, to the mechanisms for reporting sexual harassment at the workplace, I don't know Turkey, but Albania is also signatory and adopted the Convention C-190, that it is against violence and harassment at the workplace. And we, as women CSOs that are working in the labor, that are working for the labor rights, we are also trying to understand the convention and how to adopt this in Albania. The overall action that we did in the region was well coordinated by a Kosovo women's organization, that is Kosovo Women's Network, and we shared the same methodology again. It's very nice if you implement the project by sharing the methodologies, by sharing the values of the organizations, and also the way how you are committed and you learn from each other in order to be more engaged with the society. And so we found out, of course, this was a 4 years project, but I'm taking some aspects of it. And we found that the women's labor force participation have remained very low in Western Balkans. Gender-based discrimination impacts negatively on women's employment rates and labor rights. Few people in Western Balkans have known where and how to report when discrimination occurs. For example, in Albania, we have some very good institutions. One is called Ombudsperson Institution, but this institution is taking care only for what is happening into the public institutions. And we have also the Commissioner for Protection from Discrimination. This institution is a very good one, and the commissioner with whom we are working right now is very good, and we have a memorandum of understanding, and we have treated many cases of discrimination of women in the labor market due to sex or due to race. And women that have been, let's say, not treated well in the workplace, but having no contract of works in work, or having no payment of social insurance. However, we understood that many people fear reporting discrimination, and due to the underreporting, relevant institutions have also minimal experience in treating such discrimination. When I'm talking about relevant institutions, this is about the prosecution office, the judges, the police, and also some other institutions, or within the institution. For example, within the municipalities that I talked to you before, that are also responsible to treat cases of domestic violence, there is no mechanism for the employees itself to report cases of sexual harassment in the workplace or other discrimination that might have into the workplace. Again, statistics are very important. That here is the employment rate. We also have used these statistics to create lobbying and advocacy activities, not only in the country level, but also into the EU level, because we went also in Brussels with the finding of this in May. This May 2022, we went in Brussels with the findings from this work in order to raise their awareness, so they can prepare reports that push the government to implement the labor code and other legislation related to gender-based discrimination. The project was called Empowering CSOs in Combating Discrimination and Furthering Women's Labor Rights, because again, we one important aspect is not only to work ourselves, but also to empower other NGOs. And we had a large number of NGOs that have been involved in this kind of action. The main aim of our action was to give evidence-based research. So we did research, the research that you will read after this presentation, and inform people about relevant institutions to which they can report. So we did this action by researching, informing. We did a lot of awareness raising activities for us, for example, all over Albania and for other countries also. And we tried to provide legal aid and strategic litigation to enable access to justice. From this project, Gender Alliance, my organization, has started to give legal aid. So we have outsourced this through hired legal studio, a woman. We found, let's say, we searched the market and we saw the legal studios, and we found a woman very committed, and she is now providing legal aid to 8 cases of women in the court. Of course, you know that the court continue for months and years sometimes, but we have been very successful, and these are the first cases in Albania of giving a legal aid to a woman that is facing a discrimination situation in her job. Of course, networking and tailor-made capacity development supporting CSOs was one of the main aspects of the project. We have had many achievements, like 14 evidence-based baseline and end-line reports have been published. This has contributed to improving knowledge and understanding regarding relevant legal frameworks. Sometimes even us, when we started to work on this, of course, we hired legal experts, and they trained also us, because some aspects we were not aware ourselves, some aspects of the legislation or approximation with the EU, etc. Actions partners have proposed 17 legal and policy amendments toward improving legal framework pertaining to gender-based discrimination. We in Albania, when we started the project, the law for protection from discrimination which were adopted for the first time in 2010. In 2020, due to our, let's say, work, and also not only us, but even other organizations, and to the intention of the institution, we changed the law and we improved it. And this law is new and better now, because it was not that much rich in terms of definitions of legal framework, in terms of protection of Roma and Egyptian people, for example, which are facing a lot of discrimination in Albania, or LGBT people that are also facing a lot of discrimination in Albania, and some other aspects of discrimination. We have also taken 17 actions to address gender-based discriminations, adopting laws on protection from discrimination, as I said, collaborating more closely with each other and CSOs to address reported cases in Albania, but also in other countries, like preventing gender discriminatory labor legislation, because Kosovo or other countries saw, for example, that Albania has an advanced law. They were adopting and taking different articles that were missing in their legislation in order to make it better for themselves. As I said, legal aid provided in 684 gender-based discrimination cases in all Western Balkans, not only in Albania. We are continuing now with 7 of them. It was a lot of like sexual harassment, maternity leave rights. For example, it was a police officer, a woman that has been came after maternity leave. The maternity leave in Albania is 1 year, and she found out that she has been postponed in completely another police station, which were 80 kilometers away, 80 kilometers away from her family. So she has a 1-year-old baby that she has to travel 80 kilometers away stay away from her family, etc. So we protected her, and she was returned back to her working place. So these are different figures of the work that we have done. This is the coalition implementing partners in Kosovo. You will have this presentation, so you will also have the emails of these people. The key findings were that most Western Balkan countries have ratified a broad range of international instruments. Their constitutions contain an explicit prohibition of discrimination based on sex or gender. I hope that your constitution also prohibits this. No country has harmonized fully its legal framework with the EU Work-Life Balance Directive. Various issues exist, and this EU Work-Life Balance Directive we are continuing to lobby for the full harmonized of this kind of legislation. Sanctions are too low to be considered effective, proportionate, and dissuasive, while awareness that gender-based discrimination is illegal seems to have improved slightly. Many people still do not know where and how to report it. Labor-related gender-based discrimination has remained widespread in Western Balkans, including in hiring, promotion, pay, contracts, pregnancy, and maternity leave rights. Paternity leave, we have also in Albania some paternity leave days, and sexual harassment at work. So we have some paternity leave days, but we don't have a full possibility for men to receive paternity leave. Several labor rights violations occurred during the COVID-19 pandemic because we checked this, including some involving gender-based discrimination. LGBT persons, women with disabilities, and women from minority ethnic groups report facing multiple and intersectional discrimination. So we also did a lot of recommendations. As I said, we went to EU and we did the recommendations live to the person that were gathered and were like working in our countries to make, let's say, negotiations and to do this kind of reports. So they were the right person, and they supported a lot our findings. We require implementation of institutional reforms to address gender-based discrimination as a condition for EU accession process. Monitor reforms using a standardized approach across countries. Encourage and support all countries to harmonize the EU directive for work-life balance. And continue consulting and supporting CSOs, because you know that I think even in Turkey is the problem. We as NGOs, although that we do a good job, we don't have a continuous support, and we are always in running for funds, writing projects, writing reports, etc. And we sometimes do not have full time to work with our target groups and to spend more time for them. But of course, this is the way how the NGO is working. The problem is that the support is not enough, and the funds for CSOs are not enough, women CSOs. And this is also raised not only in the Western Balkans and Turkey, but also in international level, that the money, there are also some studies done. I can find also the studies, where's the money for women movement, that I can share with you. We also encourage EU contractors engaged in furthering institutional capacities, because we think that EU can build the capacities of our employees, our, let's say, institutions, in order for them to have a better response in gender-based discrimination cases. Of course, we did a lot of recommendations for our institutions, mostly, for example, for the labor inspectors. We found out in Albania that we have a low number of inspectors, and they cannot inspect all the problems that for example, women workers in textile and shoes companies can face. Because I say women, I know in Turkey there are more men in this sector, because in Albania, 95% of workers in this sector are women. I think that in Turkey are more men. However, the labor inspectors are not well prepared and are not enough in the number in order to cover everything. And also we don't have justice providers, I mean, in the sense of this kind of community judges that can work without the support of CSOs, but they can work supported by the government in order to give free legal aid, etc. So thank you. I took a lot of time. I think I'm sorry for this, but the work that we have done is huge, and it was a little possibility to say everything that we have done. Sorry that I kept you so long.
Rica ederiz. Biz çok büyük bir ilgiyle izledik ve çok bilgilendik. Size çok teşekkür ediyoruz aslında. Çünkü çalışma hayatında da kadınların karşı karşıya oldukları sorunların ne kadar çok boyutlu olduğunu bize gösterdiniz. Benim aklıma hemen şöyle bir soru da geldi. Sözünü ettiğiniz ayrımcılıklar arasında en sık rastlanan tarz ayrımcılık hangisi? Örneğin Türkiye'de ücret ayrımcılığı çok ciddi bir sorun alanı. Kuşkusuz iş yerindeki şiddet ve taciz de bir diğer sorun alanı ve Arnavutluk bu açıdan, yani sizin yaptığınız izleme çalışmaları itibariyle hangi sorunun ön plana çıktığını size gösteriyor ve bu noktada sendikalarla ortak bir çalışmanız var mı? Sendikalar bu konuda duyarlılık gösteriyorlar mı?
Yes, thank you for the question. In fact, the discrimination, as I said, we have monitored and we have worked mostly with women workers in textile and shoes companies. This group of women face a number of discrimination in the workplace, I will tell you, but this is not the same with the other sectors. The women in the textile and shoes companies, they face discrimination in having a contract, working contract. They don't have a working contract. They have a working contract, I mean, because the government, the inspectors should check the box that this company has the contract, but this contract has been made through the trade unions, which in Albania trade unions are really very weak and are really very not supportive to the workers' rights. They, in fact, have been part of our criticism all the time, but also to our collaboration, because we want them also to understand from the way how we work. And also there is a fear of them. I have been also, let's say, attacked somehow, sometime from them, not physically, but in different, mainly in Facebook or in TV programs, that they are taking our work. But we, in fact, as NGO, are not taking their work. We are trying to make women more aware, because these persons that should do this, the trade union representatives, they are not doing this at all. And they are not representing, and they are collaborating with the owners and many other issues. But the main problems that women face in this sector is the contract, that it is not a contract for the rights and responsibilities, but only for the responsibilities. The women know only the responsibilities that they have to do within the working place. The second thing is that they are not provided with a proper health and safety council, as it is written in the law, and the council that should protect them from health and safety issues in the workplace. if they have problems with the back or with the hands, etc., nobody is taking care for them. They, according to the law, a doctor should be in the factory. They have not been providing a doctor. From the other side, they have been discriminated when they produce some products. They have a certain number of products to produce per day. For example, 100 pants or blouses. And this, it's called norm in Albania, which means that this number is not properly, let's say, professionally defined. These are defined by the managers, who usually are men, and are pressing a lot of pressure under these women in order to fulfill this number of production in a certain day. And being that in this hurry, they also been injured, or they face other issues with their body that are not, let's say, being taken into account into the Albanian system of health, or for workers, or other system that can support them and bring more money for the health or support, I mean, as part of the social security. Many of these women, before we have started, during the first years of work, have not been paid the social insurance. They were pregnant and they were not finding the job place back again, as it is written in the law. But now, because Albania has been like electronized the system, everyone in Albania can check if the social insurance is being paid, because they can check the name and the company where they are, let's say, employed, and there is no one anymore in Albania that are not in the system of social insurance, except of the cases that they want to be. I mean, when they work in the black market in other aspects. Of course, discrimination were very much related to the race. Roma and Egyptian people were always treated with bad words, etc. So there are a lot of aspects and sexual harassment, which is a taboo in Albania, is not reported at all, and there is no information regarding this. While the women that are workers, and we have been sitting down and discuss with them, they report sexual harassment, mainly to the young women that are being part of the working force, let's say, in a certain company.
Evet, Mirela, bu cevaplar için çok teşekkürler. Aslında kayıt dışı çalışmanın ya da bir diğer deyişle informal çalışmanın Arnavutluk'ta da özellikle imalat sanayindeki kadın işçiler açısından ciddi bir sorun olduğunu gösterdi. Bu Türkiye'de de yaygın bir sorun ve çalışma hayatındaki eşit haklar mücadelesinin temel hedeflerinden de biri bu kadınların kayıt dışı çalıştırılmasıyla mücadele etmek. Gelen yorumlarda herkes bu sunumlardan çok yararlandığını ve çok bilgilendiğini ifade ediyor. Bize gösteriyor ki bizim toplumsal cinsiyet eşitliği mücadelemiz evrensel ve kolay bir mücadele değil. Her yerde çok emek harcayarak bu doğrultuda çalışmamız gerekiyor ve ortaklıklarımız bu anlamda büyük önem taşıyor. Size bugün burada katıldığınız ve bizleri bilgilendirdiğiniz için çok teşekkür ediyorum. Gördüğüm kadarıyla da başka bir soru olmadığı için webinarı burada kapatabileceğimizi düşünüyorum. Tüm katılımcılara da teşekkür ederiz.
Thank you very much. It was a great pleasure being with you.